Welcome again to the Banner Synod Recap. We are recording on Monday, June 15 at around 5 p.m., right after the morning and afternoon sessions of our first day of full deliberations by our Synod body. My name is Lora Copley, and I am the interim editor of the Banner. I'm blessed to be joined by my friend Jason Ruis, who is Associate Pastor of Bethel CRC in Waupun, Wisconsin, also stated clerk of Classis Wisconsin, and chaplain at Central Wisconsin Christian. And so we are so glad that you're able to join us. Each day of Synod, the delegates gather in order to discern God's leading for the Christian Reformed Church, and you can watch the plenary sessions live on crcna.org. But here we have just a snapshot of every day's deliberations and decisions, and we are glad that you are able to join us. So let's take a look at what happened on this first full day, Monday. Jason, what did you notice? What did you see? Tell us about some of the major decisions that came out of today, and some of the, maybe even start off with some of the major moments that were celebrated.
Yeah, well, it's good to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Monday's typically a pretty light day. Usually they kind of want to get the delegates in slowly. And even Chad made a couple of jokes like, we're going to test out the speaker queue and we're going to test out some of those things. And so they started off with a few brief reports, but not unimportant reports. Celebrated Calvin Theological Seminary, Calvin University, celebrating their 150-year anniversary, which is really a big deal.
Yep. Shout out. We're recording right now at the basement of the, or I should say the studio of Calvin Seminary, which has graciously allowed us to use this space. So woohoo, thank you. 150 years.
Yeah. So it's cool to see that. It was cool. They talked about how Redeemer University has record enrollment this year, which is also a good thing to celebrate. But then they did take some time to just kind of grieve Trinity University closing this year, which I think was important. And they had even all the delegates who had graduated, who are alumnus from Trinity, stand up. And there were quite a few. So you can see the impact that Trinity has had on the CRC. And so they took a moment to kind of grieve that as well.
That was important. Yeah. What was the first major vote that you saw on the floor today? Yeah,
I was actually kind of surprised because usually Monday morning there's not a lot. It's a lot of just kind of business and rubber stamping, but we kind of dove right in and had a conversation on Christian nationalism, which is, I don't know, I think it gives everybody a little anxiety when you hear the word, and it's kind of the buzz all over the place right now. And so there was an overture that had been sent in requesting Synod to adopt a specific definition of Christian nationalism. But coming out of the advisory committee, they were recommending a study committee, thinking because it's difficult to kind of get your hands around what Christian nationalism is. They thought it required a study committee of about 2 years to work on that and help kind of bring some clarity around that for our denomination.
How would you characterize the debate? Like when those that were speaking for the study committee or those that were speaking against, what did it largely circle around the argument? Yeah,
well, what was interesting was I think both sides of the debate agreed that we don't really have a good definition, and it's hard to come up with an accurate definition of Christian nationalism. So most people said, we don't really know what this is. And so those who are voting in favor of the study committee thought the study committee is going to help us understand what Christian nationalism is. And those who are voting against the study committee seemed to kind of say, this is such a foggy thing. We don't understand it. We can spend 2 years on a study committee and walk out on the other side still having that much fog, and we're going to end up basically, wasting time and money. And so it was a back and forth debate. I really wasn't sure how the vote was going to go. And in the end, they even got the vote count. I think it was 91 to 83 with one abstention. So it was a really close vote. And so, so the study committee for Christian nationalism is going to they'll be spending the rest of Synod working on coming up with who's going to be part of that study committee and finalize that by the end.
We'll have to be watching to see how in 2 years how that all develops. That will be an interesting thing to be attentive to. But that wasn't the only discussion that garnered just a lot of interest. There was something that came out of your classes, an overture that came out of Classis Wisconsin. What was that all about? Yeah,
I was surprised it came up already today. I was expecting it to come maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. But Classis Wisconsin had sent in an overture requesting another study committee, getting a clear ecclesiology for the Christian Reformed Church, which is just a big word for how do we understand the church as the Christian Reformed Church? How do we see that in a unique way, different from other denominations? And the overture had said that there's been some confusion as we've talked about what a virtual church is, even some conversations around the sacraments lately, and I forget all of them, but the overture listed probably 7 or 8, maybe 9.
I think multi-site taps into that, and how we understand church planting and what that unfolds and looks like. So there was, they saw that, all right, let's do some groundwork, it sounds like.
We were feeling the need. I mean, I've told people this actually has been a conversation in Wisconsin since I've been there. I've been in Classis Wisconsin for 8 years, and we've been having the conversation that whole time. And so it finally got to the point of us writing an overture. We want to make sure we lay what we were hoping for was that we would lay this foundation strongly in what a church is as we start going out on this, which is being discussed tonight, this 10-year vision of church planting. That as we're doing that, we want to make sure that we have a clear understanding of what kinds of churches that we're planting.
Right. So those, how did the vote go for that particular overture?
Obviously disappointed for me. The vote went in favor of not having the study committee. Not as close as the other one, but still pretty close, 107 to 70 or something like that. So, and it seemed like the reason why they didn't go forward with it was more financial. A lot of people said, hey, we're all about the heart of this. We want to make sure we understand this, but we are limited in the number of study committees and task forces. We already have some things coming later in the week where we're talking about how financially we need to be smart with how we spend our money. And so many people said, well, they felt like we already had good resources. This isn't necessarily the time for us to spend money on something like this. Of course, I disagree, but that's what the body was at, and I get the point. And some people even said, one delegate stood up and said, we already have a planting vision coming. Like we're already doing this. The horse is out of the gate. It's too late for us to try to start doing this work now. I disagree, but I understand where they're coming from.
And then in the afternoon, there was a significant another. Perhaps unexpectedly involved conversation about our ecumenical relations. Can you unpack that a little bit?
I think the debate was an hour long or more, and then there was a floor motion that came after that extended it. And so there was a proposal coming out of the EIRC, which is the Ecumenical Interfaith Relations Committee, that we enter into a relationship with the NGK, and I'm not going to try to say it in Dutch, but the Netherlands Reformed Church, this new kind of denomination that came about, and that we would enter into a relationship with them as a church in cooperation. So not a church in communion, but a church in cooperation. And there was a long debate about that where some people felt like this denomination isn't walking in step with us in regards to some of the decisions we've made over the last few years regarding human sexuality. And so they wondered why we would enter into that relationship, where other people were saying, hey, we should enter into relationship with them. They seem like they're open and maybe we can help this new denomination out. And they're kind of in the midst of their own debate on human sexuality that we've been through for the last few years. And so maybe we have some wisdom and resources to help them in the right direction. And so, that was a long, healthy debate. In the end, we did vote to enter into cooperation with them in dialogue, but then that was followed up by a floor motion that would give EIRC some direction and communication with the NGK, telling them that we're entering into this relationship with you, And yet we want to be clear that we're not wanting to rehash this conversation on human sexuality. We're going to send you all of the resources that we've developed in our conversation on this to try to help you in that.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to encourage you to kind of follow us in the decisions that we made in this so that we can enter into a closer relationship. And so I thought it was really helpful because a lot of the uneasiness that happened in the discussion initially, this floor motion kind of struck this balance where we're like, okay, we can be in cooperation with them, but we can also make clear where we're at and how this relationship's going to be. And so, it was a long conversation, but it was really good in the end.
Yeah. It seems like today was surprising in the depth of conversation that these different matters generated, and yet it shows how seriously the body is taking its work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unusual. Usually the big things don't come, maybe Monday night, but usually not till Tuesday. And so I think that's good, though. It's good to just kind of come out and start getting to work, and delegates are ready. Everybody's engaged. I think it's really kind of shows some good signs for the rest of the week.
Right. Well, speaking of the rest of the week, I believe that right now the delegates will be this evening looking further at the 10-year church church planting plan. And then tomorrow we will have one of what seems, to me, I served on the candidacy committee for a number of years, but it seems always to be such a highlight of every synod in order to have our candidates for ministry come before the body and just be blessed by their witness. And we'll be having an interview of a seminary professor to look forward to, and further advisory committee recommendations. So please stay tuned for our reporting with the Synod recap. Also, you can check out more reporting and Synod analysis that we have on the banner.org. See the show notes for links. And you appreciate our work, as always, please share with others. I'd like to once again thank our host, our guest host, Jason Ruis, for being here all the way from Wisconsin today. I also want to give a quick shout out to our studio engineer, Jonah, on his birthday. So God bless you, Jonah, for all the good work that you have done for us. And above all, please continue to pray for our delegates and for our denomination as we move forward, founded on God's faithfulness with eyes fixed on Jesus Christ. Thanks for joining us. God bless.